Okay, there's still quite a lot of people outside, peeps, just so you know. So can you tell us your name? You don't have to if you don't want to.
I'll share my first name. My name is Brady.
And tell us about your qualifications.
I am a pediatric nurse, or I'm a certified pediatric nurse, registered nurse, and I have my bachelor's degree in science.
And how long ago did you train to be a nurse?
I graduated nursing school in 2008, and I worked as a pediatric nurse in a pediatric hospital, inpatient, for 10 years.
And what training did you get on vaccines in nursing school?
Very little. We had to memorize the schedule, and we had to know, it was more important that we knew exactly what vaccines kids were supposed to get at which visit than anything else. That was the biggest thing that they drilled into our heads. We didn't learn anything about reactions. We didn't learn how to spot them, treat them, anything like that. It was just give them, they protect you.
So the fact that you describe yourself as a pro-vaccine nurse, what made you become pro-vaccine if you weren't really taught anything?
So I was pregnant with my first, and I was deathly afraid of whooping cough. You know, that's what I was actually one of the first people to be vaccinated while pregnant with the Tdap and the flu vaccine. And I rolled my sleeve up and I said, go ahead. And I didn't want anybody to touch my baby until they had their up-to-date vaccines. I was petrified.
But what put that fear in of that? Where did that come from?
It came from other doctors. It came from the doctors. It came from the pediatrician. It came from my OB telling me I needed to get it. I had to protect my baby. And I believed them. Why wouldn't I? You know, that's what everybody was telling me, and that's what they were telling me to then tell all the other parents too.
Right, and just so you know, no one's judging you here, because pretty much all of us were like you.
Yeah.
And to some degree, we all believed in everything. So when I ask you these questions, when I'm not attacking you, so just so you please know that. I know it's a very difficult subject to talk about. So I'm just trying to get behind the fear of the whooping cough and how you, because we see people now that a lot of people saying you can't come around my child unless you're up to date on your whooping cough vaccine or whatever it may be. So I'm trying to understand where that comes from.
It's literally just from the media. I will say the majority of the things that scared me the most was, yes, I heard I had to get it from the doctors and everything, but your news feed on Facebook keeps showing all of these articles that pop up, and they show you every single day, like, you have to get it, they're gonna die, and all this sort of stuff. And I had taken care of babies in the hospital with whooping cough, and they didn't die, but for some reason I was still afraid of it. We gave them antibiotics, we gave the family antibiotics, and then we discharged them. But I was still led to believe that my baby was going to die from it.
Okay, this is really interesting. You said your Facebook, so your feed is coming up with articles about scaring you.
Yes.
Is it because Facebook know you're about to have, because I don't get articles like, is that because they know you're about to have a baby?
I think they do, because they do target you. Like, if you're pregnant, all you see is articles about pregnancy and babies and everything like that, and then you also then see all these articles about vaccines. It definitely targets you, for sure.
So what did you think of people at that time when you were into stay away from my baby and as you're up to date on your vaccines? What did you think about people like us who were out there saying, you know, with our stories?
I thought people that didn't vaccinate their children were crazy.
Yeah.
I legitimately did not understand. I couldn't comprehend not vaccinating my child at that time.
So did you think they were making it up, or you just thought they were just bored?
I didn't think that they were making it up. I think they didn't understand the science. I thought they were not well educated about vaccines and the diseases. And I felt like it was my job as a nurse to educate them about it. But when I look back at what I was saying, is I was just saying, I'm a nurse, vaccinate. Like, I actually didn't have any research or articles. I wasn't actually reading any of the studies. I wasn't actually giving any data or research to substantiate my claims. I was just using my title.
And because that's the way you're sort of trained to do it,
Yeah.
really, isn't it? Like, you're so, everyone with a white coat or some kind of medical degree of some kind is important.
I just felt that if they were telling me this, then they had done their research. Like, you kind of just assume that everybody else has done their research and read it, and that it's all true and accurate, and then you just keep passing it on, which is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes I've ever done in my profession when it comes to the vaccines.
can we just go back to when you said that you had treated babies with whooping cough, and they didn't die?
No, they went home. They were small little newborns. They went home.
What does a baby with whooping cough look like?
They look like a normal baby with a really bad cough. And sometimes they can eat well, sometimes they can't. They'll get IV fluids if they're coughing too much that they can't eat properly. But sometimes they might be intubated in the hospital. The ones that I took care of never were. They were always on an acute care floor, not in an ICU, and they went home.
So you have never met a baby in all your training and time being a pediatric nurse that's died of whooping cough?
No, I have not.
So, okay, so let's go back.
But I was scared of it.
I know. I'm not. I don't want to put you down. I mean, it's just we all were brainwashed.
Right. It doesn't make sense when you say it out loud. I completely get it. Yeah.
So you end up getting pregnant. When at what point? So you get pregnant. I don't want to jump too much ahead because this is a fascinating story. So you get pregnant and you get the whooping cough vaccine and whatever other flu. Vaccine?
The flu, yeah.
And how are you feeling? You okay after you've had those vaccines?
I did not. I can't remember exactly how I felt, but that pregnancy did not go well. It was not the same as my other 2 pregnancies after that at all. I ended up with a lot of swelling at the end, like severe swelling. And I ended up actually getting really sick. That's the only one where I got really sick, and I had to be admitted for IV fluids after that. That's the only pregnancy where I got really sick.
So three pregnancies, 3 children, and all of them vaccinated. So what page? No, not.
No, I only got the whooping cough vaccine and the flu vaccine during my first pregnancy.
Okay, so I gather you. Okay, so let's go through the story. So talk about when you first woke up to the fact that you had the, oh my gosh,
why should I not do this? So my oldest child, every time I vaccinated him, he got worse. And everybody just tells you it's colic. And everybody just tells you it's normal and everything's fine. But looking back, my child would not sleep longer than 40 minutes. He could not get through an entire sleep cycle because he was screaming constantly. And I vividly remember a friend coming over and holding him so that I could eat dinner once, and she said, "You can't sit down. You can't put him down." I said, "I know." I literally did not sleep for 2 years. I had to constantly wear him, hold him, and not just wear and hold him, I had to either be rocking or bouncing and physically walking. And he just screamed in pain all night long. And the pediatrician knew something was wrong. By a year-old, he knew something was wrong. He didn't have an answer for me. And I vividly remember at his 12-month pediatric well visit, he said, "And you want to keep vaccinating?" And I said, "Yes."
Like the pediatrician said, "You want to keep."
Yes.
So he said the question.
He paused, and I remember that, because after that 12-month vaccine, which was not the MMR, he actually delayed the MMR at that 12 months. He said, "Why don't we wait till 15 months?" And I said, "Okay, I'm going to listen to you." And even though it wasn't the MMR, at 12 months, after that, I mean, we're already like cannot tolerate foods. We have horrible colic, horrible rash, eczema, all these other issues. He almost had a regression that you would expect after an MMR vaccine. He was talking a ton, and then we lost it. We went nonverbal. We started having horrible tantrums. I felt like I had lost him. And then he started having all the sensory issues. Once the sensory issues started, I completely freaked out. And then we still vaccinated at 15 months, and then everything fell apart. And that's when he started self-injuring. That's when he started hitting himself in his crib. That's when he would start screaming for over an entire hour, and we had lost him at times, where his eyes would just dilate and he was just not in there. After that, we could not vaccinate ever.
Did you know at that point this is the vaccines? What was the actual point where you just said this is the vaccines?
I started to have a gut feeling, and a lot of people started speaking to me at that point and kept saying, "Don't vaccinate, don't vaccinate." When we went into the 18-month well visit, the pediatrician told me to stop. And I don't think I would have stopped if the pediatrician would not have told me, because I had believed so much that the vaccines were necessary. And I was scared to death not to give them. So it was at that point that I started researching them on my own, and I poured every second of my life into researching so many articles and so many research articles in the CDC website. I even went to the CDC website and all the manufacturers' information. It wasn't, crazy voodoo websites. And I started getting angry. And once I started reading and researching, I was angry at what I had done. I was angry that I didn't read before I gave them. I was angry that I had believed in all that. And then I felt guilty for all the kids I had given them to myself.
You gave vaccines?
All the time. All the time. And then after that, it was very easy to see all the cases in the hospital. You could see the kids that came in and were seizing in the ER, and sometimes they get sent home, and so you don't even see them on the floor. And then you start to see the Guillain-Barré, and you start hearing the stories, and you start hearing them from a different angle. And I realized that the stories had always been there. I just didn't want to believe them. It was a lot. It's a lot of weight to carry as a medical professional, to know that I did that to somebody's child. It really is.
Well, first of all, you didn't do it maliciously. You truly believed that what you were doing was correct and right. So for that, makes it a bit better. You've woken up, you're speaking out. What you're doing right now is putting everything right. And the fact that there will be other people, other nurses watching this right now that are going to come out and speak just like you have. And really and truly, the blame must lie with the people who trained you to be a nurse and who didn't give you the training, everything you had to work out yourself. You were told that things were safe and effective. You were told these were, as they say in vaccine, the saviors of mankind. You were told that. So you did what you thought was right, just like we all did when we vaccinated our children.
Right.
So it's incredibly brave of you to sit here and do this, and it's going to help so many. And that pediatrician, I thought all pediatricians were bad, bar a few. This one's not a bad pediatrician. This pediatrician made you stop. For that pediatrician, he's a good pediatrician, really.
He saved my son, honestly.
Yeah. And you.
Yeah.
And your other children.
And my other children.
So you went on to have more children. And how many vaccines do they get?
My middle child received the vitamin K, which a lot of people think is not the same as a vaccine, but it still has a lot of adjuvants and, sorry, I probably said that wrong, other additives in it that actually caused a lot of damage to my second child.
Plus a black box warning on the inside. Yes,
exactly. And I went into delivery saying, I'm not going to give it. And then the midwives, really convinced me to get it. And I felt very pressured, and I did it anyways. And she actually ended up with a severe liver damage. She could not tolerate fat. She wasn't absorbing it. And her issues were even more severe in the food end as my son. She was also a Klingon baby after that. She was actually just, after the shot, completely inconsolable in the room. Like, she never calmed when she came home. Like, it just never was fine. She never got any vaccines. After that, it took us a long time to recover her. And it was hard to go to the doctors that I'd worked with and I had trusted, and I was like, they're going to help. They're going to help me figure this out. And they looked at me and said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help her. So that was hard. That was really hard.
Did your doctors outside of the pediatrician believe you when you said the vaccines have done this to my children?
I honestly was scared to say it. I never brought it up.
You just said my children have got issues. Wow.
Yeah, I was. It takes a long time to finally find your voice.
Well, but when you say you were scared to tell them, what were you scared of? Being ridiculed?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. People thinking I'm crazy. I had a long-standing relationship with them, but I didn't feel like it was strong enough for this. Which is sad to say.
If you're crazy, or we are crazy, the crazies are a very big growing movement of truth. So I honestly going forward, what you've just done. Well, it's out now. You're live right now. So continue to do what you're doing because it's the truth. And speaking the truth is being on the right side of history, and that's exactly what you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And I know that watching Vax 2 moved you.
Sorry, I totally just
to do this because it's okay. You can have many moments.
Yeah, Vax 2. It spoke to me on a new level. The first one spoke to me. This one, I felt a visceral reaction and connection to the stories because it was exactly what I lived with my kids. And I sat there and I said, I cannot be quiet again. I cannot be silent. I have to speak up because this is important, and we can't lose another child. Not one more because I decided not to say something.
Thank you so much. You, by the way, you're getting so much love on Periscope. How's We Are Vax?
We Are Vax. You've been you have massive engagement on this live.
So people are very grateful because what you're doing when people like you come out and speak up, you're not just speaking out for the profession, you're also speaking out for our children as well, and all these parents here who vaccinated and have injured or dead children. As you can see, the dead children here on the bus, and you're speaking for the unborn because the more people like you that come out, the stronger we become. So we're so grateful to you, and we're here for you. And I think all of you nurses are going to be full-time working with all our kids in the future. So you're not going to be unemployed.
Right. There's a growing
you may be fired, but no, I'm just kidding.
It's not happening.
I'm not kidding. But listen,
just
so you know, we love you very, very much. And you get a special present, doesn't she, Peeps?
Oh, jeez.
Yes, you do. This is for our people that we want. We people like you who deserve this. Okay, this is essential oils called Immensely Loved.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And you are having that because you are immensely loved by us, and we're incredibly grateful. And the person who made this is one of our peeps. And so I can guarantee the ingredients are nice and holistic.
Thank you.
They will not hurt you. And that's our little bit of love to you.
Thank you. Unnecessary, but thank you. Thank you for everything, and thank you for letting me speak.
Well, big team. And really, you should watch this back because you've got so much
really
love. And
proud
thank
of
you. So just on a last note, as a pediatric nurse, what would you say to the new mother, if you were the new mother, what would you say to yourself while pregnant with your first child?
Follow your gut. Number one, it is stronger than you know. And research. Do not make a decision until you read the research yourself.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. I'm coming out now, Periscope, and we